The Lionheart, the Ayatollah rock and roller, the Le Champion, the million nicknames he had once he got to AEW. There we go. This is the life and times of Chris Jericho.
Break the walls down.
What's your favorite version of Jericho?
Has anyone had two iconic theme songs like Jericho?
I mean, I feel like he's had so many.
With Judas
and
Y2J, Break the Walls Down. I mean, those are both just a couple of the
bangers.
Best.
Yeah.
A couple of the best. I love Chris Jericho.
That's constant. Mr. Consistency.
Mr. Consistency. He's been in great matches. He's gone against the best. One of the best on the mic. And a true outlaw.
True. I mean, he set the standard. You know, he grabbed the torch that Owen Hart had for the smaller guy and just elevated it so high. Mm-hmm. It was great. Born Christopher Keith Irvin, November 9th, 1970, in Manhasset, New York. His dad was playing for the Rangers at the time. So he's Canadian, but he was born in New York because his dad played for the Bruins, Kings, Rangers, and Blues. Amassed 331 points in 774 games in the NHL. His pop's Ted Irvin. Moved back to Winnipeg when his dad's playing days were over. And they would have the AWA come to the Winnipeg Arena. And that's when young Chris found wrestling. And what do you know? His first wrestler that really stuck out to him, Owen Hart. Mm. He says he admired, Brett and HBK and Ricky Steamboat, but Owen Hart was really that guy for him. He really saw Owen Hart. He was built, similar to Owen Hart. He's like, well, he's smaller than all those guys, but you can't really tell. So instantly fell in love with it. He worked as a ring crew for Keystone Wrestling Alliance during his college days. Keystone Wrestling Alliance. What a great name, dude. At 19, he entered the Hart Brothers School of Wrestling. So some Hart family members, but they just put their name on it. They didn't really train or anything. He was trained by Ed Langley and a Calgary local, Brad Young. Met Lance Storm while at the school. Lifelong friendship there. Trained 2 months, ready to go. Debuted 2 months after entering the wrestling school. Debuted in the Moose Hall in Ponoka, Alberta. He was Cowboy Chris Jericho. And he faced Lance Storm to the 10-minute time limit. He thought his name was going to be Jack Action.
Jackson.
Yeah, until an old head backstage was like, what are you doing? That's terrible. Don't do that. So all of this could be Jack Action.
When did you come up with Chris Jericho?
I guess right before that.
But he debuted as Chris Jericho.
Cowboy Chris Jericho.
Love it.
So Jericho came along because of he loved the German band Halloween, and they had a song called Walls of Jericho. So that's where that came from. Big, he admits that his love of rock and roll has always been consistent throughout his life. He worked the Canadian tour, the Canadian Indies, Calgary's Canadian National Wrestling Alliance, and Canadian Rocky Mount Wrestling. There was a Canadian version of Rocky Mount Wrestling. The North Manitoba Indies. This is when he met wrestlers like Edge and Christian and Rhino. Early 90s, him and Lance Storm would tag in Japan. And if Lance couldn't go, he'd have this guy, Eric Freeze, go with him. So did a lot of Japan work in the early 90s. Worked in Mexico as Leon de Oro, or the Golden Lion. Or also Corazon de Leon, Lionheart. That's when he first started using the Lionheart gimmick. During that time, he had an 11-month reign as the NWA World Middleweight Champion. And then he took his Lionheart gimmick to Japan, and they loved him. He was a massive star in the 90s in Japan as Lionheart. In 1995, he joined the heel stable Fuyuki Gun and won the junior heavyweight tag titles with Geto. So Ghetto's still around too, so that's fun. Wow. Also during this time, he was in a babyface tag team with Storm back in Smoky Mountain Wrestling in America. So he'd be a heel in Japan and a face in America. You gotta love it.
Love it.
He had a banger of a match with Ultimo Dragon in Japan, and that immediately put him on ECW's radar. He was the talk of the locker room, him and Ultimo Dragon. And Ultimo Dragon was going to WCW, so ECW and old Paul Heyman tried to snag old Lionheart, Chris Jericho. So he started with ECW February of 1996, immediately winning the ECW TV title. And that's when WCW came calling. He was not in ECW long at all. Debuted for WCW August 20th, 1996. So ECW in February, he's in WCW by August. He defeated Mr. JL, his first match, which is Jerry Lynn. He got caught up in early on. He got caught up in heel referee Nick Patrick shenanigans. So Jericho defeated Nick Patrick with a hand behind his back. That was one of his first matches in WCW. That was at World War III later. I think that was like September, October that year. So he just did all that. Just really spent the rest of 1996 introducing him to WCW's audience. Have you watched any of those cruiserweight matches back in WCW in the 90s? It's just perfect, man.
Perfect. And it was perfect for Chris Jericho and the wrestling he was doing.
Yeah. Because no one really knew, like, that style was massive in Mexico and Japan, but we didn't really know, like, we were so behind America. Like, we were spoon-fed McMahon's monsters that do the 5 moves of doom. Right. And then you got these guys coming over in WCW labeled as cruiserweights, and they were just putting on these 5-star matches on a Monday, and we didn't even know anything about it. We were just like, oh, okay, cool. Juventud, Guerrero, and Rey Mysterio just put on a banger.
Yep. I mean, they changed the industry, really.
They did. June 97, he defeats Six to win the WCW Cruiserweight title. First title in WCW. Traded it back and forth with Alex Wright. He had some great matches with Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Juventud. Jericho actually beat Juvi in a hair versus mask match, so he actually demasked Juventud Guerrero.
Interesting. Wow.
This started This started a great gimmick where he collected trophies from his victims. So he collected Juvi's mask. He collected a headband from Disco Inferno. He collected Prince Iakea's Hawaiian dress. So that was Chris Jericho's gimmick going forward. Always innovating, always changing his style up. Mm-hmm. Then comes one of my favorites, the infamous "I'm Better Than You" feud with Dean Malenko. Dean Malenko said he was a man of 1,001 holds. Well, Jericho said, "I'm 1,004 holds," and proceeded to pull out a list on Monday Nitro and read all of the holds and maneuvers he is capable of. He defeated Marty Jannetty that night. So this was after a match in WCW. Chris Jericho defeated Marty Jannetty and then pulled out the list and went at it. So he was a fan of lists early on.
You just made the list.
It's a great moment where Malenko won a battle royal under a mask and like pulled the mask off, and Jericho lost his mind. It's like, I got to face Malenko again. I thought I'd vanquished you. So it was great. He stepped away from the cruiserweights for a little bit. They wanted to elevate him a little bit, so he started. He won the TV title from Stevie Ray, August '98. Had feuds with Conan, Perry Saturn, and just could never really crack the top upper echelon of WCW. You know, could never really. He called out Goldberg a couple of times on Monday Nitro, and WCW didn't really do anything with it. He could never get a match with Hogan. You know, Bischoff just didn't see him as, you know, he saw him as a TV champ, the cruiserweight champ, not the world heavyweight champion. So he signed to WWF. June 30th, 1999, we get that awesome countdown to the new millennium. That just clock going off. People are like, what is this? Rock's in the ring, August 9th, 1999, Chicago, Illinois. Y2K's clock comes to zeros. He interrupts The Rock. Like, what a debut. That's 1999 Rock, too. That's Rock. He lost to Road Dogg by DQ in the inaugural episode of SmackDown. And then he would enter into a long-term feud with China over the Intercontinental title. So him and China would go back and forth with the title. They ended up being co-champions at one point. This would start Jericho's face turn. He would lose to her at Survivor Series of 99, but won Armageddon. So he won his first WWF title. He is the Intercontinental Champion. He'd actually win a triple threat at Royal Rumble 2000 between China and Hardcore Holly to be the Intercontinental Champion. So no more co-champions. But he lost it to Kurt Angle the next month at No Way Out. So brief run with the belt. But hey, you got to get your first championship out of the way, right? You know? This would lead to a great triple threat match at WrestleMania that year between Angle and Benoit, 2 out of 3 falls. The IC Championship and the European Championship was different falls. So that would lead to Jericho winning the European Championship and Benoit winning the Intercontinental Championship. So that's a nice, fun way to do that. I like that. He lost the title the next night to the beginning of Latino Heat. This is when China still had a little bit beef with him, but she was getting with Eddie Guerrero, so they felt he needed the belt, which I agree. Jericho and Benoit would trade the Intercontinental title back and forth, also kind of feuding with Triple H at the time. It's a little weird. But Benoit and Jericho would put their differences aside and actually form a tag team to combat Triple H, teaming with Stone Cold in the 2-man power trip. So that was 2 of the guys that actually went at Triple H and Stone Cold when that was going on, was Benoit and Jericho.
Classic.
He was actually in the match with Triple H when he tore his quad. So they improvised. I don't know if they were supposed to win it or not, but Benoit and Jericho walk away with the tag titles. So his first tag team championship was with Chris Benoit. They'd carry him till June, where they lost him to the Dudleys. They're then in the middle of the invasion angle. So Jericho is Team WWF through and through, but kind of has a beef with The Rock at the same time. Like, The Rock is like, I'm the leader, and Jericho's like, did we vote on that? I don't remember voting on that, you know? So it's a fun battle where Jericho and Edge are kind of like looking at Rock like, I don't know about this dude, you know? So, and that would, of course, he had runs with ECW and WCW. So Team WWF really played up the, can we trust you? You know, that kind of thing. So just fun layers to all this, you know, angles in there somewhere.
I love when Chris Jericho and Edge came together for a bit.
Yeah. He'd actually win the WCW championship from The Rock at No Mercy 2001. So he won the Big Goldie before he won the WWF championship. So he won Big Goldie from The Rock the next night.
Which is interesting because that was the WCW championship that he said he wasn't good enough for.
Right. So he finally got it in WWF. So coming full circle. That's awesome. The next night, he won the tag titles with The Rock. He won the WWF tag title. So he's WCW champion, but WWF tag team champion. That's just the invasion. That's just the times. They lost the tag titles, but he continued feuding with The Rock. Rock won the title back at Survivor Series, and then he almost cost Team WWF by turning on The Rock, but WWF still won. That's when Edge would help him attack The Rock in that match. So that would lead us to Vengeance on December 9th, and that was the undisputed WWF Championship. He would win the WCW Championship from The Rock and the WWF Championship from Stone Cold, thus unifying both the belts. He was, at the end of 2001, the guy in WWF. Didn't matter if WCW was invading, ECW. Jericho was the undisputed heavyweight champion. Have you watched it? I need to go back and watch that night. I haven't watched it in a really long time. This made him a Grand Slam champion. Not by today's standards because the Europeans in there, but he's a odd enough Grand Slam champion. Yep. He would retain the belt, beating The Rock at Royal Rumble and then beating Austin at No Way Out. So he vanquished both the guys he beat the title for. He lost to the Royal Rumble winner at WrestleMania, returning from his quad injury, Triple H. So Triple H would win the Royal Rumble, beating Jericho at WrestleMania. Then he would feud with a debuting John Cena throughout the summer of 2002. He moved to Raw, had some problems with Ric Flair, entered a tag team with Christian, defeated Kane and the Hurricane for the World Tag Titles for a little bit. He was in the first Elimination Chamber, Survivor Series 2002, that HBK won in those god-awful brown doo-doo pants. That would lead us to Royal Rumble 2003. He is picked number 2 to enter opposite of HBK. This would start a little feud with them. HBK defeated Jericho at WrestleMania 19. They'd hug it out. Jericho would kick him in the nuts.
Heel turn.
Go about our business. Jericho's a heel once again. Then we got Jericho Goldberg feud in WWE. What was he wanting in WCW again? Goldberg. Mm-hmm. So we get a Jericho Goldberg feud. He got Lance Storm to try to run over Goldberg with a limo, and it failed. But then he had to admit that Jericho put him up to it. I don't know. Got to use but they did tap into the storyline where he got to use real feelings about his WCW days. He had some good lines about Goldberg, about how you overlooked me back then, but now I got something you want. Mm-hmm. It was good. It was nice. Yeah. Goldberg did defeat Jericho though at Bad Blood 2003, so Jericho got him during the match. Back to the IC title scene, he'd have a feud with Christian over Trish Stratus, where Trish would pull one over on him. He thought he was with Trish, but she picked Christian.
I remember that.
And it was all after a bet gone wrong between Lita and Trish and Jericho and Christian, a whole little thing.
It's a great storyline. Very believable.
Yeah. So Stratus and Christian would turn heel, Jericho face. They would fight at WrestleMania 20. Christian won. Jericho would win a handicap match at Backlash between Trish and Christian. Mm-hmm. And then he won his record at the time, 7th IC title in a ladder match versus Christian at Unforgiven. Lost it real quick to Shelton Benjamin, though. So that brings us into January of 2005. He'd lose another Elimination Chamber. He'd be in the first Money in the Bank at WrestleMania 21, saying he came up with the concept for it, saying he suggested it. That would be an Edge win, however. He'd go on to cash in on Cena, epic of all kind. It went on quite the losing streak the rest of 2005. He'd lose to Lance Storm, Shelton Benjamin, Just Incredible. Long feud and lots of losing against Cena. So Jericho took a 2-year hiatus at this point. He admits he fell out of love with wrestling. It just wasn't his thing anymore. He moved. I don't know if he was there already, but he was in LA. So he took some acting classes, did some movies, really worked on his music with his band Fozzy. Just didn't think about wrestling. And he's admitted in some interviews that he was happy. He was content not going back to that. But eventually the ring came a-calling again. 2007, late 2007, we started getting cryptic binary code vignettes, kind of like the Matrixy, and it had all kinds of different meanings to biblical Jericho, so that's pretty cool. Returned on Raw, November 2007, interrupting Randy Orton's passing of the torch ceremony. Mm-hmm. Armed with a new finisher, the Code Breaker, he vows to save the WWE from Randy Orton. I love he's always vowing to save us from stuff, JBL kept him from beating Orton late 2007, though. So Royal Rumble 2008, JBL, Jericho gets a win on that. Then he gets his 8th IC title reign, defeating Jeff Hardy in March. Then the rest of that year, he is in PWI and Wrestling Observer's Feud of the Year with Shawn Michaels.
That's a good one.
He cost him his IC title. Shawn cost Jericho's title. Like, get that out of here. We got problems. We don't need that. He'd take Lance Cade under his wing as his protege for a little bit during all that. This was the highlight reel where he threw Shawn Michaels' face into the TV. Mm-hmm. And then we have that accidental, he hit HBK's wife. HBK moved out of the way and he hit her. I just watched that. That was really good. The acting there.
Yeah.
Top notch. I think he actually hit her too because her face was a little red. He won the ladder match versus, they had an unsanctioned match at Unforgiven in September of 2007. He lost to Michaels, But he would later enter a championship scramble. He took over for an injured CM Punk and won the World Heavyweight Championship. So he lost the unsanctioned match to Michaels, but won the World Heavyweight Championship. This is No Mercy 2008 now. He won the ladder match to retain his World Heavyweight Championship against Michaels. He would lose it to Cena at Survivor Series. But he won the Slammy for 2008 Superstar of the Year, and he let people know about it for a while. You know, almost Owen Hart-esque.
Yeah.
Be like, I'm a Slammy winner. So I appreciate that. This would bring us to WrestleMania 2009, where he would have that 3-on-1 match with the legends, Ricky Steamboat, Snuka, and Piper. It was supposed to be Jericho versus Mickey Rourke, and Rourke backed out last minute. So then they had to fight, and then Mickey Rourke knocked out Jericho at the end to I still did the thing.
Yeah. Jeez. So. Was that to promote the wrestler?
I'm sure. Was that the timeline about that? I'm sure. WrestleMania. I'm glad I wasn't watching in 09 because Jericho versus 3 just washed. I didn't even know Piper was still alive in 2009.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that was brutal. The only time that gimmick ever was funny is when they did it to Heath Slater, where the legends actually beat him up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the only time that's ever been funny. Because at least with Randy Orton, they kept giving him legends that were still in the game.
Yeah, he was the legend killer.
Yeah, he'd ended their career, but they were still in it. You know, They brought back 3 over-the-hill guys for Jericho to beat.
That's crazy.
This would lead to another IC title run. He'd have a feud with Rey Mysterio, winning his 9th Intercontinental title.
Wow.
That was June 2009, Bash, not Bash of the Beach, just the Bash. Trying to be edgy, I guess. He would lose the IC title to Rey, but he would win the WWE tag titles with Edge. He was the first wrestler to win every Grand Slam eligible championship up till that point. Wow. This is 2009.
Wow.
So now he's tag champs with Edge. Edge got hurt, but of course, clever WWE writing, Jericho said he had a stipulation in his contract that allowed him to replace Edge. So that's where we get Jericho. He would get Big Show. They went on a run too, man. They defeated Legacy, Crime Time, MVP and Mark Henry, Rey and Batista. They finally lost to DX in a TLC match at TLC 2009. So quite the run with the tag title. Mm-hmm. Fun storytelling, man. Edge eliminated Jericho to win the Royal Rumble in 2010. Jericho would then win the Elimination Chamber. So then it was Edge and Jericho at WrestleMania 26.
Wow.
Great storytelling.
Yeah.
Jericho wins at Mania, but Jack Swagger cashes in on him following SmackDown. So all of that for Jack Swagger to be the champion.
All that for
good old 2010 WWE right there.
Yep.
SummerSlam 2010, Jericho was on Cena's team versus Nexus. He'd turn on Cena with Edge. They just like turning on people, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the move. So
Orton would punt him. Orton would punt Jericho in the head, and he left. That would be September 2010 on Raw. It took a little while off there again, you know, because he would return right before Royal Rumble 2012. So missed all of 2011. Last eliminated by Sheamus. We all thought Jericho was going to return and win. We're like, oh, here we go. And then Sheamus got him. So WrestleMania 28, that would lead us to the Best in the World feud with CM Punk. He lost that and the rematch at Extreme Rules. A little incident worth noting there in May of that year in Brazil, he kicked a Brazilian flag and almost went to jail in Brazil. He had to do some quick apologizing and almost derailed the whole house show in Brazil there. Wow. So yeah, WWE suspended him 30 days for that. So,
yeah,
can be causing trouble in other countries. Because I'm sure their lawyers had to work a little bit for that.
Yeah.
The night after SummerSlam of 2012, he would lose to Dolph Ziggler, written off TV for the rest of the year. He was touring with Fozzy for that. Return for the Royal Rumble 2013. He's going to be back for the Royal Rumble. Entrant number 2, he was eliminated by Dolph Ziggler. Lost to a debuting Fandango at WrestleMania 29.
Fandango.
Jericho won the rematch at Extreme Rules, though. So this was the time where they did a really good job of keeping Jericho interesting, but my man took some losses.
Yeah.
Like, he was definitely there to put over other talent.
Yeah.
But we still cared about him. So they did a nice job. And then, like, he would win every now and then, winning the rematch at Extreme Rules. Then he would feud with Ryback and Curtis Axel.
Ryback.
Riveting.
Feed me.
He would be written off July 2013 to tour once again. He'd stay gone almost a full year, returned June 2014 on Raw, and also returning Miz. But then he got attacked by Bray Wyatt. Random feuds with Orton and Lesnar. Then he just did house shows in early 2015. So that's weird. In 2016, he feuded with debuting AJ Styles. They would actually fight and then form a team and then fight again.
That's good.
Lost to Styles at Mania 32 that year. Then he'd feud with Dean Ambrose. He was actually in a fatal 4-way to crown the new number 1 contender for the Universal Championship that Finn had won. But Roman won that at SummerSlam 2016. So instead at SummerSlam, him and KO defeated Enzo and Cass. Okay, what?
Yeah, this is when him and KO were together. This is during the list years.
Yeah.
You just made the list.
He would help Owens win the Universal title during this stretch.
He helped Owens win it, and then he helped Owens lose it to Goldberg.
Yeah. The list of Jericho, while assuring KO would stay champion, defeated Roman with Owens to capture the U.S. title. So now he is a Grand Slam champion from the current format. Mm-hmm. So just Grand Slam, Grand Slam, Grand Slam. So they at least gave him the U.S. title to KO's championship. He would feud with KO after the Royal Rumble 2007. They'd have the Festival of Friendship where KO would give him a new list and his name was on it, and it was great. Good. Jericho would lose to Owens at WrestleMania 33 for the U.S. title. They traded it at the next couple of pay-per-views. And then Jericho took the pin in a triple threat match, written off TV to tour once again. He did a backstage segment with Elias at Raw's 25th anniversary, and then he was the 50th entrant in the Greatest Royal Rumble of April 2017.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was crazy that he was in the Greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
That was really bizarre.
So I didn't realize until I went back and did this research how sporadic his last couple of appearances and years were. He'd come in, do a feud or two, and then...
Yeah. Yeah, and then he went on to, after those years, he went indie for a few years. When
he went to Japan was awesome.
He went to Japan and did an incredible match with Kenny Omega, which...
The Painmaker.
Which I will say that was one of the first indie matches that really got me excited.
Yeah.
Where I was like hearing that that's happening, and I like made an effort to find it.
I was keeping my eye on New Japan because I was a Ring of Honor fan at the time, and they were so intertwined, So I was it was great. I was hoping he was going to make some appearances for Ring of Honor, to be honest with you.
And then he was instrumental in launching AEW. He was one of the biggest names to join the company very early on. And he was their first world champion.
I think that's the right call, too. It immediately legitimized it.
Mm-hmm. And he had a great run as Le Champion.
Le Champion. Elevated a lot of superstars during that time, too.
Yeah. And, what I remember is that, he's had some fun runs in AEW, but he's also had some very challenging ones to watch. And there have been times where, it feels like he's let his body go. Like sometimes, like you'll see him wrestle and be like, "Wow, he looks out of shape," and then he'll come
wear pants,
and then he'll come back 6 months later, and you're like, "Oh man, you've been working out." So
he's back in shape. Do you see the recent picture? He's good now.
Yeah. So no, I mean, he's had a fun run in AEW.
I like the Jericho Appreciation Society.
Yeah,
it just went on too long.
Yeah,
they didn't separate him. Like, I don't know, but you hear Jack Swagger talk about his run in AEW was miserable.
Right.
So who knows what was going on at that time.
Right. It was messy, but at the end of the day, Chris Jericho helped legitimize it. So a true contender for the GOAT conversation.
Yeah. What's your favorite iteration of Jericho?
The List. You just made the list. Festival of Friendship.
It's hard for me not to say the same, bro.
He was coming out wearing the scarf. He was wearing the tights, the scarf, and the fedora. I mean, it was all
when he would click the pin, dude,
it was all just so good. To me, that was the most fun. But I've always loved Jericho. I loved Le Champion. But the List to me was perfect.
Yeah. Even the couple years before the List, when he was that I really appreciated Jericho. Obviously, my favorite is the cruiserweight years in WCW because I'm a diehard WCW fan. But I loved the Best in the World feud with CM Punk.
Yeah,
because that's when I was just getting back into wrestling, and that was my reward for getting wrestling. Is I get CM Punk and Jericho. Are you kidding?
I just watched that WrestleMania match, but I need to go back and watch the Extreme Rules match.
Yeah. Oh, man. Jericho, one of the greats, man. And who knows? We might get one final run.
We might get one more final run of Chris Jericho in WWE.
Well, that is the life and times of Chris Jericho. Make sure you subscribe to the Spandex StandUps. We just got all the wrestling for you coming your way. We got so much content. We'll see you next time.